are stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hello, my wanderers. Welcome back. It is Soul Wanderings night, and we are hanging out here on KGRADB.com, your favorite talk radio location. I just know it. I'm AJ, and I am your host. I'm delighted to be here as always. I always say it's my favorite night, and it is. Every week I say it, and I mean it. It's so good to have you all here. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you are new to Soul Wanderings, let me direct you to the places you can find out more. If you go to soulwanderings.com, you can learn more about myself and the show. If you go over to KGRADB, that is where the show is played live every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. We are on YouTube and Facebook under KGRA Digital Broadcasting. So if you would like to join us live on video, those are the places you can find us. There's also chat rooms on all of those platforms. It's a great place to meet other wanderers. It's also a great place to ask questions if you have them for our guest. Each week we have a new guest. Once a month we have a return guest who offers readings on air. So we have a lot of fun things going on here on Soul Wanderings. It's a fun place to be. We learn so much, we heal so much, and we connect with each other, which is just beautiful. I really enjoy it. And speaking of connection, if any of you want to connect with me, if you have questions about anything that we talk about on the show, about what I do during the day, which I have this beautiful opportunity to co-own and operate a space called Vibes, Mind, Body, Spirit. It's a heart healing center and a spiritual retail place. So we have a lot going on there. We do a lot of magical classes, services, and where you're not local, I'm always happy to join you, like FaceTime or Zoom or something like that, to give you a one-on-one personal experience through the store if you're looking for something personalized and unique just for you. I get to help a lot of people through their healing journeys, and it's just really neat. And so a lot of people have questions in that regards. And if you do, email me. My email address is connect@soulwanderings.com. That should be an easy one for you. If not, my awesome producer, Chanel, always puts the information up on the screen. So if you're watching live, you'll be able to jot that down. She'll do it over and over. So if you miss it, you'll see it again. And without further ado, let's just continue on, because tonight we have another amazing guest, and I'm really excited to share her with you. Our guest tonight is Elly Molina, and she's a highly recognized educator. She holds a master's degree in linguistics from NYU and has been educating for 4 decades. And she's appeared on network television discussing intuitive development in children. She is the founder of Psy Kids, where children and adults learn to develop, trust, and utilize their psychic and intuitive abilities. And she lives in Washington State. She's the co-founder of a private school for children, where children learn to use more of their minds in a very different manner. She's also the creator of Mind Power Consulting, where she teaches and guides you to work with your own powerful intuitive abilities while introducing you to mind power techniques. And I'm really excited to hear more about that. Hi, Elly. Welcome to Soul Wanderings.
Hi, AJ, and thank you for having me here tonight. I'm very excited and honored to be here. So
Thank you.
I'm real excited.
I love that. We were talking before the show how many appearances you've done and been on, and how you're sharing all of this information about yourself and what you do with the world. And I just think it's really neat for you to be able to consistently show up for everyone and be yourself. So welcome. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So your bio says very little about you, like it always does. Like when I have guests on the show, I'm like, yeah, that's a great bio, but I really want to get to know you. So that's what we do on Soul Wanderings. We really authentically get to know you. Let's have a conversation. So tell us a little bit more about Elly.
Oh God.
The
So
loaded
it's
question. Tell
well,
me
there
about
it goes back a long time. Okay. So um I don't think I know that my journey in this otherworldly realm really began by the time I was 5 years old. And I've shared this story a few times. And the first time that I pretty much freaked my own parents out was when we had this really big painting in our living room, and it dropped off the ceiling. And I just made this announcement, and I said, "Oh, Mr. Robertson died." And turned out, this is way back before there's internet or turned out that Mr. Robertson had passed away just around the same time that the painting fell down. And I made the big announcement. And I had visions and dreams, AJ, from the time that I was really, really small, that I still remember. And some of them didn't make sense. Now they do. And some of them did make sense at that time. So I'm just going to give you two dreams that really stood out. I was very, very small, and I haven't shared this dream with anybody yet. So I was very, very small, and I was stuck in a log, and I started to scream to get out. The more that I screamed to get out of the log, the bigger my body became, and I grew in the log. At that point, I started to pray, and I realized how my body got smaller and smaller. Now, this is all before I was 5. And then I realized that the more I pray, the calmer I become, the smaller my body will become. And then I was able to slip out of the log in the dream. And that registered for me. It just registered on so many different levels, even though I didn't understand all of the implications, but I do today. But I didn't understand it then. And then also when I was 6 years old, one of our family friends had passed on, and I dreamt that I was walking with her. And I asked her, "Why, you're dead. Why am I walking with you?" And she said, "The dead walk among the living. Only few can see us." And those may not have been her exact words, but that is what I recall from that time. I must have been about 6 years old.
Wow.
And when I was 5, I went to our kindergarten Halloween party, and my costume was a fortune teller. And so, okay. So this was there. I was fascinated with this realm. I really believed that everybody was fascinated with this realm. And I really also believed for the longest time that everybody, well, I still believe this, we all have these abilities. We're all psychic, we're all intuitive. It's just some of us use them more often than others. So that is part of how I got started, I think, if that answered your question.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good place to start. You were so young and having this awareness.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I really adore about being around children in general is they are so in tune and they're so in touch with both sides of the veil. They're able to see and communicate in those ways. And I love to look at them and observe them. They're just magical to me. So along the way as you grew up, did you stay connected to your ability to be able to communicate? It's just something you've always done?
Yeah, there was a time, I will admit, there was a time when I was in my 20s to 30s, that 20s to early 30s, that I did everything that I could to ignore it. And that didn't, and when I look back in hindsight, oh yeah, had I listened, had I listened, had I listened, only I was going against the grain. I didn't want to listen. I didn't want these
Right.
things. I didn't want it. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I relate to that very much.
And so therefore I didn't want it, made a lot of errors in judgment. Of course, they all bring us to where we are, today. But the biggest takeaway was during that time that I just would not listen to it, AJ. It's don't go here, don't go there, don't do this, don't do that. Nah, 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 nah. It's going to be okay. And, in the end, of course, it was okay. But
Yeah.
at what price? That was also the question.
Right.
And then then it was really in my 30s, mid 30s. And now here's the other thing. I was a closet psychic also during the mid 30s, my mid 30s, meaning that I had a career as a school teacher, as a middle school teacher. Actually, first I taught college and university. So I was extremely traditional, and no one spoke about any of these things or about being psychic or any of that. It was just like totally not spoken about. And then when I was in my 30s, I couldn't control it any longer. Honestly, it was really, looking to bust out of me at every opportunity. So that's when I started to work part-time doing psychic work. And I'd go to school during the day and be school mom, teacher, soccer mom on the weekends with the kids. I have three children. And then I would work as a psychic, weekends, evenings.
Did one of those things. I'm familiar with people like you. I'm surrounded by them all of the time. I love that. Do you feel like when you were in your 20s and 30s where you really pushed away your ability, consciously you did, that there was maybe an underlying reason why that you were meant to go through those experiences without having that intuition as strong as it could have been?
Oh, it was strong. I didn't listen to it, AJ. That was it. It was more of a rebellion. Does that make sense? Like,
okay, yeah.
all right, yeah. Well, no, don't do this. Have these dreams that keep telling you. And then I look at it now because I do have a consulting business, and I look at it when I listen to my clients speak, and I hear them share stories where I'm just seeing, oh, girl or young man, or you're just not listening to your intuition. It's so clear. And you're going to have to wait till what I call the hammer hits you over the head before you make those moves because you're not listening. And that's really what happened to me. It was, I had to wait until I got that hammer hit over my head to that wake up call that is, all right, you got to listen. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, and people who aren't connected to their abilities, right? Because you did say we all have them, and I agree. They probably were wondering why, if you have these abilities, would you choose to ignore them?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that is something that sometimes I grapple with that myself, even today, AJ. And, I can say, well, is it my upbringing that I have this whole analytical side? I'm a skeptic, believe it or not. I'm very skeptical. I am very strong in looking for evidence. And so then I have this whole other side that can just go into this realm, like right there. And it's like, oh, how do these two pieces fit and blend together? So I think that part of that is like started to have, it was really important that I started to work with kids so that they would not, it's like my mission, they won't go through what I went through, so they're not going to doubt it. A lot of it happens through language. People say, oh, that's not going to happen, or that's not true. And then depending on how strong one's, how I trusted myself, right? I didn't trust myself for whatever reason.
Well, you're not alone. I feel like anybody who is aware that their intuition is strong questions it. Why wouldn't you? A lot of times, just like how you said you're a skeptic, I think most people are. They don't just believe what they see, what they hear, what they feel. They question it on some level. And that's just something that we do. But I love that you chose to work with children and help them develop their abilities. That is so amazing, especially because, I mean, this topic is definitely more discussed now than it ever has been. I remember being young and having things come up for me, and it was always shoot away, or you have a wild imagination. And I've shared this on the show before. I don't want to be too repetitive, but um, I know I'm not the only one. This happens to people all around. I mean, I see it in my I see it in my I'm laughing because Maria, you're adorable. I see it in my nieces. They're so intuitive. It's crazy intuition going on. And it's like they're looking into my soul. And I'm like, don't lose that magic. Don't grow out of that magic. And it's like when you do your inner child work and you go back and love your little self and remind yourself that it's okay to be intuitive. It's okay to have these abilities. They're here to assist you and guide you and use them instead of shooing them away. I mean, it's a process for everyone, right? But I love that you are working with children in that way so that they can know that it's okay to be intuitive. In fact, it's a beautiful opportunity for them to tap into that intuition.
Yeah,
Why
thank
did
you.
you choose to work with kids over adults? I mean, I know you work with both now, but what was your main focus in working with the children?
Well, first of all, I kind of fell into middle school because, no, that's not true. It was a selection. When I started teaching adults first, and they were fine. They were a little dry. To me. And then I started to go to teach college for 10 years. I taught at City University, in the City University system, and private universities, Polytech and Stevens Institute of Technology, et cetera, and then the City University. And that was fine, but it wasn't really fun. I like fun things. And then all of a sudden, I had this opportunity to teach middle school. And I loved middle school as a kid. And I know most people don't love middle school, but I loved middle school. So for 29 years, I was a middle school teacher. And I absolutely loved middle school. And then that is where I started working with the middle school children to develop their psychic abilities. And we were doing this way before this was even a thing. When we were going back to, I'm going to date myself, we're going back to 1986. All right. So this was not a thing. And I started teaching this. Now it's become a thing. And all these years, it was just, what are you doing? What are you doing? That doesn't work. That doesn't work. It does. It does. And, I'd play these games with the kids. We would play remote viewing. We didn't name it remote viewing because it wasn't really, it was called remote viewing, but I didn't know at that time that it was called remote viewing. So we were kind of playing telepathic games, seeing without our eyes, doing all kinds of fun things, and writing new moon wish lists back in the 80s. I mean, really, now everybody writes a new moon wish list, but back in the 80s, it was all very novel. And the kids would write their new moon wish lists and then look at them a few months down the line and say, wow, this manifest. We didn't even use the word manifest. Wow, this came true. This came true. This came true. And it was like, wow, this is really fun. And then it continued that way until 2000 and it was 2004/5. This is when The Secret came out.
Oh,
And also Betsy Chassey's What the Bleep, if you remember those films. So when The Secret came out and What the Bleep came out, I'm teaching middle school now in New York City. And I said to myself, you know what? Now it was like almost 20 years later, right? Almost, right? And it's like, okay, I can bring this into the classroom. If people are watching The Secret and people are talking about The Secret, well, I'm going to bring this into the classroom in my own way. And so I started bringing affirmations into the classroom, and we started talking about stories that we tell and how language influences our realities. And then all of a sudden, well, it wasn't all of a sudden, it was through the work. The kids had the highest test scores in the district for the English language, English language assessment tests, which was then what's going on in the classroom here, Molina, what are you doing? All right. So it was like, oh, this is what we're doing. Boom, boom, boom. So I had a wonderful administrator back then and a wonderful vice principal, assistant principal. And I'm dating myself because I'm out of the system now. I've been out for a while.
You look great, so.
I've been out for a while now. And anyway, so they said, you know what, Molina, we're going to give you a year. You could do this program, and it's going to be an enrichment program, and you'll teach the children how to use more of their minds and use them in a different way. And I called it The Power to Create. Not very original, but hey, so what? It was back then. So the kids started to work with remote viewing. They started using mind folds, like blinders like this, so they could see without their eyes. Then we started using playing cards to see also, which we would do these telepathic exercises without our eyes. And they would do manifestations, and we just did incredible things during this year with each other. And then I came across, because this is how it works. I came across a school in Washington. I was living in New York now. I came across a school in Washington where they taught this and more, and they also taught neuroscience. And I was like, okay, I got to go teach here. I got to take my kid here. And so I applied for a job. I was accepted. And I brought my child, who was going into sixth grade at the time. And that was it. We moved across the country. I left my two older sons in New York, and we moved across the country. And I taught there for a year, a little over a year. And then the story goes, we lost our funding. And so then I stopped teaching. I started going solo. And then I was invited by the parents to co-found a school again. And so then that's where we started. And that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other story, which we'll get to, I hope. I hope we get to that other story. I think it's so neat that you are so fascinated with middle school. One, because I remember, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but middle school was tough for a lot of kids.
Yes.
I remember going through a lot of things, but also everyone around me was going through a lot of things. You're not a kid anymore, but you're not an adult. You're trying to figure out life, the best way you know how in that time frame of your life. You have a lot of questions. You're going through all kinds of changes with your body and your mind, and it's such a time of your life where you are easily influenced. And so having someone like you who was able to assist them in such an amazing, positive way, I'm sure it just altered who they were and their future, being able to tap into the power of their mind and all that it can do for them.
I'm going to share, thank you, AJ. And I'm going to share some stories in a few minutes about what happened during this time in middle school with some of these children in positive ways.
Oh, it's so good. I'm excited. We're going to cut to break just a minute early because, why wait? And you have so much more to share and I don't want to get interrupted. So why don't we do that now? For those of you who are joining us live, thank you for being here. The chat room is already active. I appreciate all of you guys. All of our regulars who are in there, Bobby, Justin, Charles, Kathy, Maria, Gingas, Eric, all of you guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
Hey members, The new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires with Sound the Alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected. Only at kgradb.com.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back. I told you it would be quick. Thank you for hanging on while we had a little tiny break to have a word with all of you about some really cool things. We are hanging out tonight with our guest, Elly Molina, and she's the founder of Psy Kids and Mind Power Consulting. Two very amazing things for you to be doing, Miss Lady. My goodness. I bet you just love every single day.
Yeah, every day is amazing. It really is.
I mean, when you create a life you love, right? And you're doing something that you're passionate about, and you have stories for us, and we all love the stories.
Okay, I'm going to tell you some stories.
Oh, good. Let's do it. I always say I'm like a kid when you sit down on the floor, Indian style, and you're just looking up at the storyteller, just like, tell me more, tell me more.
Yeah. And I will. Okay. So thank you. Because I love telling stories.
Oh, good.
I want to go back to before I left for Washington and talk a little bit about when I started doing this work with the kids in New York City. And one of the things that is always very important to me when I teach any kind of psychic development work and intuitive work is that when we're working with the psychic realm, we want to do it not just for the phenomena of being able to see without our eyes, okay, see things or know things, or even, for example, spoon bending, which is not what I did with the kids, but I'm just saying when we do these, or telekinesis, when we do this, it is not about the phenomena. It is about the empowerment that happens before. So, and it's about the consciousness that gets raised with all of this, and the emotional intelligence and the awareness. So when I was in New York, before I decided to go to Washington State, the kids and I wanted to raise the vibration of the middle school that we were at. I taught at a school that had over 2,000 students. And there were a lot of problems. Basically, the police, you go through police checks every single morning before you go to school. Police are in the lobby. We're middle school. This is middle school. And the police are in the lobby. They patrol the halls. And, every day kids are getting arrested and being taken away. And the kids in my classes and I wanted to make a difference. And we really felt that we could. So I connected to the Peace Alliance back then. And what we did was we made bracelets that the kids made bracelets. We came to class, they made them at home, and they had these little things called joy and love and peace and harmony. And the bracelets were absolutely beautiful. And the kids made these, and we had permission to sell them. And then the funds were used to meet with representatives from the Peace Alliance, and the children were acknowledged for this. We were also invited to the United Nations to meet Gandhi's grandson at that time. And so these are things that become really memorable for them. These were moments in history. The Peace Alliance was something founded by Marianne Williamson. And while they did not get to meet her, they got to meet her representatives and were honored we're honored for the work that they did in raising consciousness in the school, obviously in the district. And, this is something that the children will remember for the rest of their lives. Mm-hmm. And some of these kids are still my Facebook friends. So I know that it made a huge impact in their lives. I mean, we're talking that was 2004. We are now 2022. Okay, we're looking at almost 20 years ago, right? So, no. Yes? I don't know. I got to do the math. So
I'm not in that headspace right now.
But anyway, so this has been really a really huge journey. And then when I went and started teaching this, and I wanted to teach into Washington, and we started teaching, then we were really going into different realms. Now we took it into the realm of, we talked about neuroscience and understanding how the brain works. And then we also took it into the realm of the ultimate telekinesis, moving objects with your mind. Now, mind you, only in my lifetime, I've only witnessed 3 children moving an object with their mind. They moved a domino. And this is not an easy task. It requires a lot of practice. It requires focus. And it requires sitting still without moving for prolonged periods of time in order to do this. So the kids practice this. Again, it is not something that everyone has the patience to do, if that makes any sense. It's not something that it takes a lot of patience to be able to work in the telekinetic world. But one of the things that they were really great at was remote viewing and telepathy. And I call it really declaring what we use the word manifesting, but really just declaring what it is that you want, setting an intention, and then going to make it happen, knowing that you can part the seas as easily as like you can blow air and something will move in the wind. So it's a knowing. It's a very powerful knowing.
Yeah, it's like second nature also once you develop that muscle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It's so neat. It's so neat the atmosphere that you created for these children to be able to show up for themselves that way. Can you imagine what they're doing as adults today? I'm sure you've heard some really great things, but
I know what some of them are doing. I know what some of them are doing as adults right now. And I'm just going to share. Last year, it was a year ago. September 2021. The International Remote Viewing Conference held its annual meeting conference. And this year, I've presented there a few times. And this year, one of the things that I was presenting was a follow-up to find out what happened to a few of these kids now that they're older and have used this. So I went out, I've been in touch with a number of these children. And even though these are now kids these kids are in their 20s, 25, 26, 27. And so even though these children, if you look at a resume, you're going to say, oh yeah, anybody could do that. Some of them, like one of them is a chiropractor. He's a successful chiropractor. Another one is in construction. Somebody else is doing finance. The other one's traveling. Somebody else is working on a farm. I mean, you could look and say, oh yeah, anybody can do this. But the difference between anybody and these children is that knowingness. It's that trusting. It's that knowing that, you know what, I don't have to work a really big, hard 9-to-5 grind if I want to make money. There are things that I can do just by putting out the energy, and then money can come from different sources, or I can get jobs when it feels like there's no job to have, or there's like, how do I know which things to invest in and how much do I invest and when do I pull it out? And, we can say, yeah, that's all gut. It is gut. But these kids, these young adults now are working with creating their day. They're working with consciousness. They're working with an intention. And many people have that now, of course, because it's in my world, it's very mainstream. It may not be mainstream in other people's worlds, but in my world, it's very mainstream. So, these are the parents. This is mainstream. But yet, it's still something that they're doing every single day. Whereas, maybe the majority of other people, it's not that mainstream. It's just, it's my world,
Oh, I think your world sounds amazing and I just love it. I mean, I love helping other people so much. I don't even know how to explain the high I get when a client or a customer of mine has that aha moment with me that changes them. It changes the fabric of their being even in that depth. Like I don't know where it comes from. I just trust that it does. And it's just amazing. And I can't even imagine where this is something that you do on a daily and have done most of your life, that this is something that you're experiencing regularly. I just think that's so fantastic. You said everyone has psychic abilities, and I believe that. That we just don't know how to use them. And some people maybe don't trust that they have them or know how to access them or something like that. Can it really be as easy as asking, or how would they tap into that? Or how would that work for somebody who really wants to connect in that way?
All right. So, great question. I'm going to start with an adult. Let's start with an adult. And I'm going to start with the story that involves an adult and a child. So during COVID, I was supposed to be teaching in-person psychic development classes in New York, but we got, everything got shut down. So now I was doing an online psychic development class via Zoom. And this was a first for me. It's just like, oh, okay, well, maybe there were a lot of firsts for all of us during that time. So here's this screen. I had just finished, we're looking at a screen. Everybody is, all those little people on the side where you can see all their faces, right, on Zoom. And I had just finished doing an exercise to get the participants into an alpha state. So sidebar, children up until age between 8 to 10, 11 are naturally in the alpha state. We adult alpha brainwave, slower brainwave state. Adults need to get into the alpha brainwave state through meditation or spacing out or just, kind of going into the zone. So I had just finished getting all these adults into this alpha state so they could relax and look at the picture of an envelope on my screen. It's like when you think about how bizarre all this is, okay? So they're looking at an envelope, and I asked them to look at the envelope and tell me what's inside. Okay, now they're not really looking inside the envelope. They're using the envelope as a target because the next image that is going to pop up is going to be what was in the envelope. Okay. So this woman is looking at this envelope, and her 5-year-old son walks by and he goes, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I'm looking in the envelope. What do you see?" And he said, "Oh, he's 5. All right, AJ, he's 5. He's never done this work. This is all new." So he goes, "Oh, that's easy." And he goes and he draws a picture of some, I have this somewhere on my website or my Facebook or something. He draws a picture of this stick figure because he's 5, and the hair is going out and it's all black, and he's holding these things and like a sword. And then he says to his mom, he goes, "Oh, Mom, it's power and dragons." And the mom goes, "Okay." And she writes it all down and she's got it right there. And then she's doing her thing. And then all of a sudden she shows me, this is what my kid did. And I just showed everybody right there. I said, "Okay, look at what this child just did. He was a walk by. Look what he just did. And now look at what the picture is." And my image was a caricature of Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
Wow.
And he's wearing a black outfit. And if anybody knows Game of Thrones, well, we know that he's all about power and dragons. And here's this child who knew absolutely nothing about it. So these are the results that I see all the time with children, just like that. So are we naturally able to do this? Yes. Then what happens is performance anxiety, fear, doubt. Will I be able to do this again? Because he didn't even know what he was doing. He was just like totally open. There was no veil. Okay, he was just doing his thing. But now if I were to sit him down, I'd have to really spend time working with him to overcome the fear that he's not going to get it right, the mental chatter that starts. Okay. So, and that is what we're up against with adults.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if I were to give you an envelope right now and I say, "Hey, let's go count backwards, 10 to 0, and I'm going to get you all relaxed and tell me what you see, and, what happens is that so much doubt creeps in at that moment, like, and the self-talk, it can't be. We could play a game right now. I mean, if you want to, I do not know, like, here's my deck of cards.
They'll put me on the spot.
No, not you. Well, you could have your viewers play this right now. And then here's a card. And all we're going to do is guess the color. We're not even going to go for what it is. I don't know what's there. I'm in total beta. But let's just say that it's red, okay? And so if anybody wants to, they don't have
everyone in the chat room, start popping up your answers. We'll share them on the screen.
And look, let's be honest, like, I'm over here talking, I'm doing this live with you. So the first thing that's coming up for me is, oh my God, what if I get it wrong? What if it's not red? What if it's black? Okay. But my first gut thing was, okay, let's go. It's going to be red. So let's just see what it is. And it is black. Okay. So,
oh, wow.
So I failed my own test. Now, if it's not failing, I didn't perform well. Okay. But if you saw black and you even saw a king, well, kudos to you. Okay. Because there's no filter. There's none of that chatter going on around you.
And I was feeling yellow. So.
Oh, there you go. Look.
There's a little bit of yellow going on.
It's got a lot of yellow.
Okay.
It's got a lot of yellow. All right. So I'm just saying, this is really easy work. But you'll notice that all this self-talk and all of this invalidation comes up. So that is one of the things that I work with also. So we work with what happens. What do we do with these things? And then we practice learning to listen to intuition as if it's like a breeze coming through, and just allowing it to be.
Yeah, that you're right though, because there is a game that I've been playing with my nieces that we write a color down that we're thinking, and we put it in our hand, and then we tell the other person what color am I thinking or feeling, and the person who wrote the color down, I tell them, think about that color, think about everything that's that color, say that name of the color over and over, just really focus on what color you have written down in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been doing that back and forth, and they get it so easily, and I find myself second guessing, saying no, like the first thing that pops up, say I said yellow, but no, maybe it's black. It's always the first thing I thought. Always the first thing I thought, and I end up going with the second choice. It's crazy how we do that as adults. We are so good at second guessing and not trusting our intuition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a little bit deeper than even intuition. This is really just, this is real psychic ability. Okay. This is real perception, seeing without eyes. All right. It's huge. And so, that needs to be trusted. And you'll see that the more that you start doing this, you'll notice that there's so many variables in this, AJ. Right. Talking about now doing this with the colors. When I did this in high school with the children, what would happen is I would see pockets, meaning that there'd be a whole section of the classroom that said green. The other section said yellow. The other section said red. Because where they were sitting next to one another, they were telepathically communicating their thoughts. They were doing the colors. And then when we look at it as a whole, and you can see everybody who got green stands up, and it's like, oh, that whole section of the room, they're all standing next to each other.
All connected.
Okay? Oh, it was wonderful. It was just so much fun. And these are just things that we can do all the time if we want to play different games rather than, I guess watch TV or be on our iPads.
Fun. Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's a business that's located pretty close to mine, and they do this sort of thing. I've seen them with their groups of people that they have in their class, and they'll blindfold them and take them to the Walmart and have them walk around with the blindfolds on even, and tell them what price an item is or what the item even is. And they're not even touching it. They'll just walk them through the store and not even guide them. They're walking through the store blindfolded by themselves, not touching anything. They know where everything is at. They say, go and find this item, and they go to it without even taking their blindfold off. Like I've sat there and watched them do it just as an observer, and I'm blown away at how connected they are once they go through this type of training. It fascinates me.
Yeah. And AJ, this is becoming, I just want to say, back in the day when I started, like, this did not exist, but now it's becoming way more popular. And there's a whole lot of research, and a lot of places are doing, and I say a lot compared to like when I started, like there was like maybe two, myself and somebody else at somewhere. And now there's so many programs, there are a number of programs out there for people to be doing this work. And again, now it's got a name. It's called Seeing Without Eyes. And so there are different people that do take kids and adults and read. And even one of my friends and colleagues, he's doing this now, and he's teaching adults how to see without their eyes. And it's fabulous. I mean, we did this with the kids, but different. We had them in a field, and then we had them blindfolded. And this is something that I can do also. We were blindfolded, and then we would have our cards, and the kids would find these cards that they drew. And then being blindfolded, they would I also walk to our cards, find these cards. It's something, when we have this experience in our body, something happens to us. We become so empowered. It is very difficult to explain the feeling, the sensation that goes through the body. If I have time, I'm going to share one personal story.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So when I learned how to spoon bend, I was very scared of spoon bending. And why was I scared of spoon bending? I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to do it. I'm going to be honest. So here I am.
Well, of course, it's not natural.
Well, my friends were spoon bending in the community, meaning the remote viewing community and the psychic community. And so then I started comparing myself. I'm human. And it was like, oh goodness, I can do remote viewing and I do all this psychic work and I can teach and train. But what if I can't bend a spoon? Well, I'm not going to try. Okay. So then I went to a Tony Robbins event and we walked over a bed of hot coal. Nothing happened to us at all. It was fun. It was like, oh, this is great. I want to bend a spoon. But it wasn't until October of 2019 that I mustered up enough courage to say, okay, now I'm going to go bend a spoon. So now my friend, colleague, the one who's teaching adults how to see without their eyes, he had just been doing a live workshop on YouTube. It was on YouTube, but it was live. And he had taken a group of people from Oregon and he was going to walk them through spoon bending. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go do this also. So I ran to the kitchen and I grabbed a spoon and like I looked at I didn't grab a spoon. I went to the kitchen, I looked at the spoons and I asked them, AJ, who wants to come with me and get bent? And then I looked and one of these spoons just looked and said, okay, you, all right. So I took the spoon, went to the couch, sat there holding the spoon, listening to him take us into deep meditation. I swear I almost fell asleep. I do think I fell asleep. And I'm holding my spoon and all of a sudden I hear him scream, bend, bend. So I take my spoon and I go like that. And it bent. It turned like that. And I jumped off the couch. I was so awake now. I had this feeling, this sensation run through my body that it was more powerful than walking across the bed of hot coal or having like tremendous psychic hits, like being able to, I don't know. It was just something, it was a whole other feeling that went through my body. And then of course, COVID came a few months later. So I spent a lot of COVID time teaching people how to spoon bend, and we were spoon bending and
what a good way to pass the time.
Yeah. And then I said, like, okay, now I'm spending time spoon bending. Perhaps there can be something a little bit more useful out of this, right? I mean, and then I put my mind to developing programs. But not about spoon bending, okay? About having people then, I call it quantum leaping, mind power, getting into having what they want, but using the power of their minds.
I'm all about theories and conspiracy theories and all kinds of things. And everything that you're talking about, what you have been teaching, the government does. Mm-hmm. The government does this with their spies and undercover operatives and all kinds of people. This is something that's been going on for so long, and it's not something that they have really wanted us to know about. Have you gotten any?
Oh, so this is, I'm going to interrupt you. So this is the beauty of the whole program is that the international, first of all, a lot of the documents are declassified now, as you know, but in the International Remote Viewing Association that I'm a member of, the original people are there. They're part of that was who formed the, those are the guys. Okay. So these are the people, these stories are all real. These are the people that worked with the CIA. They worked for the Stargate project. They worked with like Russell Targ and Harold Pudoff. These are all members of the community. And it's just it's a wonderful community. That's why I love remote viewing, even though what I do is not, well, it is remote viewing, but it's not the same but it's like, it's a family for me. It's where I feel most comfortable. So yes, that's not conspiracy. Okay. That's just not conspiracy. That's real.
Well, I don't believe in it. That's just what it's, what people would consider it to be. I definitely don't think it is. I believe it's truth.
Oh, there's too much. There's too many. Anyway, I mean, that's already out there. First of all, it's declassified. And even if you do talk to people who, if you've seen the movie Men Who Stare at Goats, the original guys, these are people who are in the International Remote Viewing Association, and they're right there doing the work in the conferences. I mean, so
love that.
it's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So good. So good. For those of you who are just joining us, we are hanging out with Elly Molina tonight. And while we are visiting with her, she has a beautiful website with lots of information. If you visit ellymolina.com, her name is ELLYMOLINA.com. Go and visit what she has go and check out what she has going on her website. All of the things that she offers, all of the work that she's done. And we'll get more into all of that here in the second hour. So stay close, everyone. When we get back, we're going to do some more deep diving with our guest, Elly.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Scrolling all day, time can disappear. Wanna make it count? Why not volunteer?
Posting pics of your food, that takes up time. Time, you've got time to binge all of season 9, though it got so bad.
Time, you got time. We're gonna grow back and be the same browse you had.
Just a few hours to keep families from harm. Help us end home fires with Sound the Alarm.
Volunteer for a day to install free smoke alarms in your community.
Discover the Observation Deck, a one-of-a-kind virtual event platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus. There's so many areas and activities to choose from. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, an expo hall, a nightclub, and even a beach. So come attend a conference, take a class, or hear a lecture on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Go to theobservationdk.com.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
We are hanging out here live on kgradb.com. It's a cool place to hang out. If you guys haven't checked out the entire website, I'm inviting you to do so now. My show's not the only one here, of course. There are so many other shows here. Every night is jam-packed with live or pre-records, but all new shows for you to check out. So many new ones too. Let me tell you what my favorite ones are that I've been able to check out lately. I did share like a time or two ago, Soul School is a really great one. War Party Paranormal, those are both on Monday nights. Tuesday nights, there's the Rundown Live, which is every day, just so you know. There's Podcast UFO, MUFON What's Up. They have some really great hosts. John B. Wells, awesome. You guys, there's a lot of shows on I'm trying to think what the term would be, but like Search Warrant and iDetective and Veterans Action Report. A lot of great shows supporting our servicemen and women. There's there's shows on paranormal, ufology, all kinds of good stuff. So if you have questions, we're all seeking answers. Go to a show that you resonate with and check it out. If you're interested in purchasing a membership, you can do that by using my promo code and you'll receive 30% off, which is SOUL21, SOUL21. That gives you the 30% off for an annual membership, which is a lot of money. And I know we're all trying to save money, but we're also trying to expand our big, beautiful brains. So go over there and check that out and save some dollars while you're at it. Tonight, we are hanging out with our special guest, Elly Molina, and she is the founder of Psy Kids and Mind Power Consulting. And she works with kids and adults alike to help them develop and trust and utilize their psychic and intuitive abilities. She is amazing at what she does. She has so many good stories she has shared with us so far. Welcome back to the show, Elly. Thanks for hanging out with us. So we have commercials. We go commercial free this hour, so you guys all get comfy. I hope you're drinking your favorite beverage, kicking back and listening to these good stories and learning a thing or two. Elly.
Yes, hi.
Are you hanging in there with us?
I'm right here. I had a space out for a moment, okay, but I'm back.
It happens. Those breaks kind of mess me up. I'm like, can we just keep going? But I mean, they serve a purpose. They help us keep the shows going.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure. So I love that you work with kids and adults. You're able to work with both, and they're both two very different energies, obviously, because as adults we're so conditioned, like you were saying earlier, to second guess ourselves. This isn't something that comes naturally to us anymore after we've been through all of the experiences that we've been through, and how we're conditioned to not really believe in ourselves or have that empowerment to trust our abilities. And the way that you're able to go in and assist others in switching that belief system is just awesome. We need like thousands of humans doing that for each other, building each other up and helping support them in these ways, because we all could benefit from them, and they all just make us better people when we come from that place of like truly loving and trusting ourselves. The magic that occurs in those spaces is unreal. Yes. And the fact that you get to do that and see your students just light up after they have an amazing experience. Kudos to you. That is so great that this has become your passion and life calling.
Thank you. Thank you.
It really is. I mean, you're making a difference in the world, no doubt. Do you enjoy working with adults just as much as you do with the children, or do you find it more challenging helping them break through those beliefs and patterns?
It's very different, and I'm going to address both of that. So for me, it's easier to work with the adults, believe it or not.
Wow.
Only because I'm working with the adults, it's one-on-one, or I'm working with the adults and I don't. Now, when I'm working with the children, the adults, I hate to say this, so often the adults get in the way. So
I would imagine
that is what makes it difficult to work with the children. So it's not working with the kids alone, it's working with the parents. So when I'm working with the children just alone, that is really wonderful. But that it depends on what kind of the programs. There's just a lot of like this, the helicopter parents or the whole thing. It's just working with the parents is challenging. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's one thing working with an adult. All right. But once you start working with a parent and a child, something happens to these parents. I guess, maybe they feel it's a reflection on themselves. They want their kids to get it right. They want their children to know, they just want their children to basically excel at this. And maybe the kids, we just need to let the children be, right?
They just want to be kids.
Yeah. Yeah. So that part's challenging. All right. And so that's why I went and created an online program. Okay. So now you can do it online with your child And even though I do spend a lot of time teaching consciousness and conscious awareness, AJ, and that our language matters. And I mean, I'm not going to tell parents how to discipline their children or how, but I do have lessons on ways for parents to better communicate with their children. That's there. Mm-hmm. So allowing their children to be who they are. So, and to watch the language.
Right. Words are powerful. I completely agree with that. And I love that that's part of your program, is having the parents be more aware of the way that they speak with their children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So important. So important. I love that you brought that up. You had some talking points that you shared with me, and there was one that I was really interested in. The process why learning to develop psi abilities create compassionate young people with high levels of self-esteem, confidence. And I think when we're kids, society puts so much pressure on us, have told us who and who we shouldn't be. And the way that you are coming in and stepping into their awareness and teaching them that they have their own belief systems and they have their own intelligence and they have their own abilities. Can you tell us a little bit about that and those experiences, how that shifts who they are and the way that you work with them?
So this is a how do I say this? This is a very trigger point for me, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to share why. As an educator, for the most part, look, there are wonderful teachers out there and there are wonderful parents. However, we're still operating in a very antiquated, old system. And the system that we're operating in does us no good. It's so old. We've inherited dead people's conversations. We're still talking in dead people's language. We're still continuing to perpetuate the beliefs of dead people. And so when we come in, we take a child who's excited about life. Reminds me of a blog that I wrote, and it actually brings tears to my eye. If you ever look at children and you look at them when they're about 2.5 years old, before 3, there's a light in their eyes for the most part. The light shines. By the time they get to kindergarten, that light is almost dimmed. Why? Okay, well, ask yourself why. I mean, I'm putting you on the spot. I asked myself, why? Why does the light go out? And then what does it take to have that light come back on? And so when I work with kids, part of my goal is to have that light come back on. That light comes back on when they're heard, when they're encouraged, when they feel capable, when they feel treated respectfully, when they're seen as autonomous little beings who have an opinion. Okay, that light is on. Once it's part of the way that we have been taught as parents and educators. Once we start going into that space, you can't, you shouldn't. You know what? That light starts to go out. And then I'm going to tell a story. This is very heartbreaking to me in many ways, but it's part of the work that I do. So I was called in to substitute for a school in Washington. This is public school. And I went in and the teacher was called to a meeting. So she did get a chance to speak to me and tell me a little bit about the class. It was 4th grade. So she had said to me, we've separated this one boy. All the kids are now going to be in my story. They're all Johnnies. So we separated Johnny. We put him here in the front of the room because he's a disturbance. He's an annoying child. Just telling me he's an annoying child. He's a disturbance. He likes to instigate and cause trouble. So don't let him become a troublemaker. Here's his list of behavioral things, and he gets a smiley face if he cooperates, okay, et cetera, et cetera. So yes. Now, we went through the day, and Johnny was wonderful. He was really, really great. And he was cooperative. He was kind. He was nice. And I saw this sad face on the paper that he had before I got in there. And I said, why is that sad face? And he said, well, I get in trouble because I get angry. And I said, okay, well, why do you get angry? He goes, well, because my teacher won't listen. And when I tell her she won't listen. She starts to yell at me. She won't listen. And nobody listens to me. And I said, well, what is it then that they're not hearing? He goes, well, he said, there's a lady here, there's a math aide, and she works with me, but I want to do the math problems by myself, and my teacher won't let me. So I get angry. And I said, okay, let's go talk about this a little bit, So we spoke a little about this. And then he shared with me, he opened up and he said, look, I live with my grandma. Okay. Now all of a sudden he's telling me I live with my grandma, and my grandma gets angry at me all the time. She doesn't listen to me. She tells me I'm bad. And this is the only place that I come where it's good. And then my teacher yells at me, and all of this, AJ, in a few moments of time. So then I worked with him during the time, and I said, well, we're going to not get angry. If you feel that you're going to get angry, raise your hand and let me know, and we'll take a look at why you're getting angry, et cetera, et cetera. By the end of the day, he came up to me. Their children are not allowed to hug us any longer because of the rules of school. Yes. But he came up to me and he attempted to hug me, which was really one of those heartbreaking moments because, maybe a couple of years, maybe 20 years ago, they would have been able to touch us and get that hug, but now it's inappropriate. So I said, I'd love to hug you, but I didn't say that, but basically the point here is that here was this child, and he came up to me and he goes, can you please come back tomorrow? Can you please come back tomorrow? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'd love to, but I'm not your teacher. And the reason I'm sharing this story is because education has just gone, we get a few teachers who were really, really wonderful, but then we get this disciplinary and punitive system that we have. And it's like, oh, the kids don't want to sit down. They don't want to sit still. Of course they don't want to sit because they're not meant to sit. But we'll just medicate them. And, then they'll sit. And then they'll become, docile. And we'll do with them what we need to be. They pass the tests, and they'll graduate. And some will go on to college, and most won't, depending on the school districts. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, the reason I shared this story is because that was part of my mission. And then when I go and I do this work with the children, that is what we wake up. We wake up that self-esteem. We wake up the empowerment. We wake up the emotions. It's not that we wake them up. I acknowledge them. And then we look, why are you angry? What's going on? So identify this. Let's break through this. And we work with phenomena to get this. I'm just can I say something over here to Dan? Yeah. May I say something?
Absolutely.
Rough time as a youngster, nobody would listen. Discipline wasn't my strong suit. Right. Now, here's the thing. If somebody had listened, there would have been no reason to discipline you.
Right.
I've worked with kids who have been labeled obstinate, defiant, rebellious. Why? Because they don't want to do what some adult is telling them to do at the moment that they're telling them to do it. I mean, is that abnormal? Not at all, right? Mm-hmm. But I had to leave. I was no longer a match for the system.
Yeah, it would be very challenging for me. When I was growing up, I always thought I would be a teacher, always. But after getting out of high school, I wanted to be that one teacher that made a difference in everyone's life. So I'm like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do the thing. But I got so discouraged because of the way that school was for me. I wanted, just like everyone else, they wanted to be seen. They wanted to be heard. They didn't want to have everyone breathing down their neck every 2 seconds for every little thing that they did. And I was only one person. And then I didn't have the willpower or the desire that I have now, or I probably would have done something different. But it does feel really disheartening in the school system. the way that they do the things. And my child's grown, he's an adult, so I haven't been in that arena for quite a while, but I remember so many times where we had meetings with the teacher and she would say stuff like, well, he probably has ADHD and needs to be put on medication. And I'm like, no, that's like the last thing that he needs. And he doesn't have ADHD. And they just didn't want to spend the time nor give the attention. They were overworked and overloaded with big classrooms full of kids who all had what was going on in home and bringing it to school. And like, I get that, but there are those handful of teachers who make a difference, like you, who are willing to show up and see the kids for who they are and recognize that their behavior isn't who they are. They're reaching out for somebody. And I haven't gone through the schooling to be a teacher. Obviously, I didn't take that route. I took a much different route. I did criminal justice instead, which I'm not even doing now. But, I always wanted to do something that made a difference. But anyway, that's not about me. So going back, I just feel like when you're in the school, when you're doing the education for teaching, do they teach you anything in that arena of being compassionate and working with your students on an emotional level or anything like that? Or is that all just education and discipline? Like, is there a way that we can shift the school systems and in the way that we teach kids so that they are more emotionally and mentally intellectual, like what you have been doing?
I'm sure there's a way that it can be done, but it's got to start with the universities and the programs. And it's so layered, AJ. Sometimes I wonder how political it is also, but then I don't want to get into that because I'm just two stories. I have a client I was recently working with. She's an assistant principal in a school district in Florida. They're just allowed to bring mindfulness into their programs. Not because of the district, but because of the teachers. They're afraid. There's some sort of belief system going on down there that this is, I'm going to just put it out there. This is anybody listening. So it could be a religious belief that doing work that is mindful goes against the work of God. And so the teachers are not willing to do any mindfulness training because it goes against the will of God. So, we live in a very interesting world because there are so many different belief systems that are running the politics of this country also. So to get the teachers to really develop emotional intelligence for themselves. Remember, you've got to develop emotional intelligence. Otherwise, you're going to respond and you're going to react. And by reacting, the kids are going to start to react. I mean, we had students, and I mean, is it trained? Are they trained? No, they're not. Some people are, they're not. They're still not. I'd like to pretend and say that they are. I'm sure it's a whole lot better than when I was trained as a teacher. But even back in, we are primitive. We are. Even back in 2008, which sounds like a long time ago, but for schools, it's not. Because nothing has really changed in the schools since then. But there was this woman who came in and she was teaching, and the kids used to throw erasers at her every time, she would turn her back to the classroom. They would throw erasers at her, and then she would turn around and scream at them. Okay. And that's why they threw erasers at her, because they were bored. And this was entertainment. You could say, well, then maybe the educational system needs to start to teach something that's a little bit more relevant to what's going on in life, aside from some of the subjects that we do teach in school.
Right.
So
it's so dated. It's just
Mhm.
so dated. There's so many things that we really don't need to know today that are going to benefit us here and now or in our future.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take a look at, the curriculum, and I do see this, the curriculum, the way that the days are broken up, everything, it's the same as it was 100 and some odd years ago. Okay. So something's got to change. I was secretly hoping that during the Zoom time, something would change, but no, it all went right back to the same. Because one of my really close friends is an administrator in the Los Angeles school district, and it's all the same. It's just a different day, different day.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And, we can always hope for a better future, but I think we've been doing that a long time when it comes to the school system. But we definitely are kind of off topic. I mean, I could ramble on about how disappointed I am and all the things we could change, and that's not going to really do us a whole lot of good to talk about all of that stuff. But earlier, you brought up how you see the light in the eyes of a child before it starts to fade away at the age of 5. Obviously, by the time we're adults, that light it's gone. It's totally dimmed out. Do you see that light come back in adults when you work with them?
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. When you fall in love, it's right there. It's like that bliss chemical. Okay. It comes right back. And when you're falling in love, when you're in love with what you're doing, when you're excited about something, when that light comes right back there, when you're involved in something. So that bliss hormone shows up again. And that is something that I work with my clients so that I can see that. I see that when they come to me and their faces are kind of disappointed, resigned, cynical. And then by the time the end of the call or the end of the session and their faces are lit up and their eyes are shining, okay, that's it.
So we have to constantly I should say have to, that's not the right wording, but being aware of the things that bring us that spark, that bring us that joy, that brings the light back in our eyes. It is a birthright. We are meant to enjoy this human experience, although it can be challenging at times. Those are the things that make it all worth it.
Yeah. And I mean, this is part of doing the work when I think about doing the work, the more that we tune into our intuitive abilities, the more that we tune into who we are, the more that we practice being present, the easier it is for that spark and that light to come on, the happier we are. We do not need to have circumstances make us happy. We have this within us.
Right. Right, exactly. We all do. And that brings me to the awareness that we receive when we have that spark, when our eyes light up again and we have that connection, if you will. We feel connected to the experience. We feel alive again. And my question is, how do we continuously have those experiences and have that awareness that brings us those connections and connection to each other?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to answer that very simply. When we get over ourselves. Okay, so it's not such okay. And what I mean by that
it really is that way.
Yeah, it is. And what I mean by that, AJ, is that we think, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's just maybe the way we're programmed or the way that we're raised, et cetera, or the way we're designed. So we come to Earth, right? We come to our experiences and we think that our world is the way that everybody's world is. And if only they would think the way that I would, if I would never do that, I wouldn't say that. And we have all of these expectations of other people and the way it's supposed to be and how others are supposed to behave and even how we're supposed to behave. And then when our expectations are unmet, then we start to create these stories. Okay, oh, they don't like me. This is happening. They're not this. They're blah, blah, blah. But now, what if we were approaching every single situation and everyone that we met in a space from I'm connecting with them because we're all part of the bigger connection. We're all connected. What if I could look at these people and say, you know what, I can see you. I can see you. And I'm taking my expectations and my judgments away of who I think you are and who I think you're supposed to be and all of these things. But I'm going to connect to you from the space of my heart. And it's going to be intentional. And I'm going to see you for who I'm going to see you and not layer you with my expectations. So that will have you show up as who you are and who you're not. And I will see you that way.
I would love for everyone to be that way.
So would I.
Beautiful. Wouldn't that be so beautiful?
And this is a thing that could be taught. If we were to teach it, we could have this. You know, as one of my sons says to me, "Oh, you live in utopia." I said, "Yeah, I do. I live in my own utopia, but everybody else around me is also in my utopia, and that's okay."
Right. You create your own reality. Your mind is such a powerful tool, and the way you believe is what you will experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For those of you who are joining us and a little late to the show, make sure you head on over to ellymolina.com, ELLYMOLINA.com. It's there. You'll see all the information about our guest tonight. There's tons of information on your site. I love how vibrant and beautiful it is. You have so many things going on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, I just lost my page. Oh, wow, I'm really losing my page. Why don't you tell us about the free resources that you have on your website?
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I want to share a story. Again, if you're going to share a story.
We love stories, remember?
So a few weeks ago, I have this 2 stories. On my website, there's something called the magic mantra. And the magic mantra, I'm not going to give it away, but I'm going to tell you that when you use the magic mantra, it says over there, find lost objects, but that's just because I wanted it to appeal to a larger audience. The magic mantra, if you continue to read through the free resources, is something that you can use to basically part the seas. You can create anything. It is just really incredible. So fast forward, you're going to hear what the magic mantra is also. Betsy Chassey, as I was saying before, she's the creator of What the Bleep, the film that was out. She happens to be a friend of mine now. And so she was here in New York and filming her new project called the Galileo Project. And she'd been filming a bunch of scientists and a lot of physicists to talk about the Galileo Project. But she also wanted to have something fun in there. So she had her hostess come over here and to my home, and we were doing a remote view because the hostess had never the narrator of the show, right? The narrator, she had never done remote viewing, so she didn't know what it was about. So we were doing a remote view. She did really well. I'm not going to share all of that because that's going to be in the documentary. But then all of a sudden, Betsy asks me, she goes, I just got a really strange text message from my producer. And he knows that you're psychic. His cat has gone missing. Can you tell me where his cat is? So I proceeded to tell him right there where his cat was. And then I said, tell your producer to ordain that the cat now comes home. So have your producer say, I now ordain, I think the cat's name was Snowball. Anyway, the whole thing's going to be in the documentary, okay? The whole story. So that I now ordain Snowball comes home. Well, lo and behold, she conveyed that to him. And it turned out that just as I had predicted right there, live on camera, right? Not live, but it was on the camera. It was on the documentary. 2 days later, Snowball shows up. He had been exactly where I had said that he was. And the producer had used the words, "I now ordain Snowball comes home," and he'd done that. And then Snowball returned just in the same way. So they decided that the story was so cool that they're going to put that into the documentary. So I thought that was kind of cool. But the point of it is that when we ordain, we can find people, we can find objects. I had a dog that was missing for one client called me, dog was missing for 2 weeks. That dog came back. They found the dog. Happened twice. Found cats stuck in garages and cars, and just the most amazing stories. And I do have a few of them in the free resources. But the words "I now ordain," this is something that people have to develop a personal relationship with so they can understand the power of these words. They're not to be used lightly. But again, this is something that needs to be, this is a relationship that one has to have with these words.
Right.
And so that's a free
sense.
resource.
That is a respect thing. Yes, absolutely. May I ask what documentary you're referring to?
Yeah, it's going to be, it's a new documentary that's going to be out next year. It's called The Galileo Project, and it is by Betsy Chasse, Chasse. She's the co-producer of What the Bleep and a few other documentaries. She just made one right now. It's called, I think it was called Bliss Up. It's all about energy healing. It's out on YouTube, and fascinating. She interviewed energy healers. So that's, a whole other conversation, but yet the same thing. Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite topics. I love talking about energy healing and actually doing it. It's so amazing. I don't even have words. I'm just like, yes, it is as warm and fuzzy. I just had an incredible energy healing session the other day. I get blown away by people and how some of them are just so connected. Such a beautiful experience.
Yeah. I just had one on Monday, this past, not yesterday, a week ago, Monday also. Can I go on a tangent?
Yes, please do.
Right.
I love this stuff.
Last time I saw shadow figures was back in 2007. I haven't seen shadow figures since then. I don't enjoy seeing shadow figures. You're familiar with that, right? These are those.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't enjoy seeing them, but so I haven't seen one for a really long time. And then all of a sudden I was in the shower, and there in the corner was this black shadow figure, like a cloud. And I was like, "You are not coming anywhere near me. I don't know if you wanted to come in. I don't know if I washed you out. I don't know who you were. I don't know what you were doing there." And I said, "Okay, I've got to go get a healing." And so I called up one of my absolute favorite energy workers, and she spent 3.5 hours working to clear energy. I mean, I haven't had an energy clearing in a while. So probably really needed a good one from all the readings, all the psychic work I was doing. I felt amazing the next day. And so we know that there is just some people are just really amazing at energy clearings, and it's their gift. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Get your energy healing done, people.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing work like you're doing and like I'm doing. It's so important because as mindful as we can be, as grounded as we are, as connected as we are, as much meditation as we do, as much readings as we get, whatever that looks like, we can still get attachments. We can still have experiences connecting to us because we're working in such a bright light, such a big energy, and the light attracts the dark. So it doesn't matter how much work you do. It's really good to have somebody else be able to go in your field and clean that up for you.
Yeah. And I don't know if I could even do it. I mean, I didn't, like I said, AJ, I had not seen a shadow figure in many years. Okay. And so it's like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, I haven't either. I used to see them, and I've talked about this before on past shows, and it was recently in a documentary that Alan B. Smith just produced. But I talked about my experience with shadow people. Like when I was younger, I used to see them all of the time. It was normal for me, and I wasn't afraid of them because I didn't know better back then. I just
Right.
thought everyone saw them. I just thought that
Right.
was something that hung out
How
with
old?
us.
How old were you when you were seeing them?
The first time that I can remember is around kindergarten, first grade.
I was going to say that's usually when they show up for the first time. That in my experience, when I'm working with kids, that they start to see the shadow
Oh,
figures.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like the boogie of the old boogeyman, right?
Yeah, yeah. And when I got older and I had gone through experience and I had been shared with, like, you saw those for a reason, for A, B, and C reason. I was going through a lot of things during that time of my life, and some trauma, unfortunately, at such a young age. And so it was just a regular thing. And I actually found comfort in them visiting me because they were there quite a bit to my remembrance. I remember seeing them, almost every night, even sometimes during the day. And it was just, they were there. I didn't tell anyone because I just assumed everyone else saw them too. It wasn't something that you like, guess who's in the room with us? It was just, they were there. And I asked my brother one time and he was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And we just thought, what? And
Right.
he didn't see him. And then I realized, okay, I'm the only one seeing them. But I never felt like anything negative. At least, I was so young, I don't remember what that would have felt like anyway. I just remember thinking back on it. I started seeing them most of the time through elementary and middle school, and they stopped for visiting for a really long time. And then I went through some really heavy things from like 28 to 35, very active. They were around all the time. And after I had gone through my awakening, if you will, I learned that we were definitely feeding off my energy, that it was so negative and so heavy at the time. And there were reasons why they were there, but I haven't seen or felt them since.
Nice.
Which now I'm like, good, because I didn't know they were so bad.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like I said, I haven't seen one in ages since 2008, perhaps the last time.
Good. Yeah.
And then this thing showing up. It's like, okay, what's going on over here? Who's attached?
Yeah.
But you're not. Yeah.
There's just so many anomalous beings and creatures and things. We just don't even know. We can't even, at least for me, I can't even wrap my head around it, right? There's just so much going on. And that's what this station is about. We talk about all of that stuff because no one knows. No one has these answers. But see, we always get off topic.
That's all right. I mean, it's fine. I'm fine with that. And I mean, like, I'm sure that the people listening to your radio show, they've had these experiences also. And it's, people, and no one likes to talk about them, or some people do, but they're not really spoken about. And then, you're going to, people say, think I'm crazy, or this, this has happened, or, so yeah.
Really? Yeah. Well, because we're not taught to talk about anything like you're talking about, what you've been teaching. We're not taught to talk about those things. They're really taboo subjects, or people have a lot of judgments towards them. And so we hide it inside of us, or we shut it down, or until we find our people, right? And this is, I found my people. I found my group of people who really want to know and they want to talk about it. And then you're just like, oh, finally, I'm not with you anymore.
Yeah. I mean, my mission is that we all start talking about our psi abilities as naturally as we talk about the weather. That's how I feel about it. Let's talk about our psi abilities the same way that as often as we talk about the weather.
Yes, it should be the norm, right?
Absolutely.
It ought to be. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk about assessing and understanding our connection to universal consciousness.
Okay.
Because everything that you do, this is all where it's all a connection. Let's head in that direction, because that's a good one.
Yeah. So, I mean, this gets into the fundamental beliefs again, that we're all connected. There's the universal consciousness, the universal collective consciousness. I'm not going to get into understanding it because I don't understand it, right? But I do believe, in my personal belief, just a belief, that we're all tapped in, we're all connected. I think of the Avatar again, the movie. We're all connected. So example, little things like that. I go to Pilates. Well, you don't know. I go to Pilates, and I go to Pilates like 5 days a week, and there's usually a wait list. And I was waitlisted at number 5 for tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm going to Pilates, and I'm going to move through that wait list. It's not good. So I'm going to Pilates tomorrow. So I set my intention. I did my ordaining, and then I told my instructor today, I said, I'm waitlisted. I'm number 5 tomorrow, but you're going to see me here. And she smiled and said, okay. And while I was driving home today, I had this hit. I had this knowing I'm no longer waitlisted. I'm in the class. And then when I got home, I checked my email, and guess what? It was 12 minutes before I had that thought, okay, where I saw that, because I pay attention to these things, AJ, okay? I pay attention to when did I think this and what time did it happen? Because this is like my confirmation. This is my evidence. So it was 12 minutes after I had the thought, 12 minutes before I had the thought that I'm in the class tomorrow. I'm off the wait list, okay? So now, why am I sharing this story? Because I connected into the higher consciousness that sent that message telling me that I was off the wait list. And we all can do this. Maybe we're not paying attention to this. And we think it's, an anomaly. We think it's, oh, wow, that's really weird. But what if we went around and we wanted answers from someone? We went into meditation. And this is what I teach my clients also. We go into meditation and we contact that person. We have that conversation with whomever it is on the, path, who's dead. Doesn't matter. Information is going to come to you. It's going to be channeled. And so these are the things. This to me is the universal collective consciousness. That energy is all around it. It is all there.
How do we tap into that?
Meditation and allowing it, dreams, going silent. Sometimes we think we have to just meditate. What if we just sat still on a couch and asked a question to the universe, higher self, God, and just sat there and did nothing? Just sat there for a few minutes, spaced out a little bit. Well, maybe the answer is not going to come immediately, but it'll come during the day or the next day. It'll come.
Yeah, I feel like people are wanting like a smack up against the head. They're not looking for the little subtle details and information that's given to us regularly, the signs that are coming across us all of the time.
Yeah, right. They're there. And then we don't pay attention. We ignore them. Right. We can ask, Robert Louis Stevenson used to get his plots, stories for his books by asking before he would go to sleep. So he would ask his higher self, he would ask his subconscious that tonight I'm going to have a dream and it's going to reveal to me the plot of my next novel. And then he would have paper and pen, and sometime during the night or the next day, he would have the dream would reveal the story, just like Mary Shelley dreamt Frankenstein. That was a dream. Even Robert Cameron dreamt Avatar. That came through a dream. And so the point is that they're tapping into some universal consciousness. They're tapping into something. So if you want to have information, you want something, ask your higher self, ask God Force, ask universal consciousness, whatever you're tapping into, ask that before you go to sleep. And then pay attention during the day, stay present to the answers.
Right. I think we, like, going back to what we were talking about earlier, how we're just so good at getting in our own way. We also have these big expectations on what it needs to look like for us. And so we are missing the point when we do that. We're not allowing these little messages to come through to us because we're expecting something, grandiose, like something much bigger than it really is. And the messages can come up that way, but they're also more times than not very subtle. It's like tuning in to really listen or paying attention to those.
Right. I mean, there's even studies done that explain why we get like some really fabulous ideas in the shower.
Really? I had no idea. I get a lot of ideas when I'm in the shower.
Yeah, because what happens is because we're in the shower, it creates a physical sensation over our bodies. And so then it also puts us, certain hormones get released. I forget exactly which hormones are released, but because we're feeling good for the most part in the shower, we're relaxed, and hormones are released during the time that, chemicals are going through our body. And then we're also in an alpha state, believe it or not, in the shower.
Really?
Yeah. And so then ideas can come ideas come when we're in the shower.
Do you get a lot of your messages when you're dreaming? You did bring it up earlier that you had received messages, but is that where a majority of them come from? Is
No,
while you're dreaming?
in the shower.
Oh, okay.
That's why I spend time looking to find out. I wanted to understand. This is that skeptical part of me again. Like, why am I getting all of these hits in the shower all the time? Why is all this great stuff coming in the shower? And why not like at night when I'm dreaming? I get some hits, but like really the best stuff comes in the shower.
Interesting. Do you keep like a tape recorder or book close by for when you get out so you can hurry and jot them down before?
I write it down. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also write down my dreams when I'll wake up, and then I'll write them down also, so that I don't, just a couple of words. Okay. Not enough to stay awake, but just like a couple of words.
Right. I used to get a ton of messages in my sleep, and for many, many years it just went away. But recently I've changed my diet. I've gotten rid of all kinds of really bad things that, we just eat, not realizing how bad they are, and gone to more plant-based and more organic. Just, I don't need to get into it, but blah, blah, blah. Since then, I've been having these crazy detailed dreams again. And I don't mean like they're crazy. I mean like the information that's coming through is unreal. And I've always kept a little book by my bed and jotted a few things down, because when I wake up, I'm like, oh, wow, that was a trip. I'm going to remember that. And I never remember it. But I'm even remembering the dreams by the end of the day, because I'm thinking about them all day long. What happened in those experiences? Everything is so vivid. And I know for me and for a lot of people that do this type of work, when they do that, when they cut out like processed foods, or they become eat more natural, and go on walks and do their health regimens, they start to have these incredible experiences. Do you know anything about that?
I do know that what you're saying is true. Okay, that and this makes sense. Think about it. Carbohydrates, processed food slows down the the chemicals that would normally be working with us in our brain, helping us to connect into our intuitive abilities. Well, all of the body's now physically working to digest and process all this crap that we've put into our bodies.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the story now that I have to share. I have a client who went on a fruit diet.
Just fruit?
Just fruit. And then a few of her friends went on this fruit diet. And she sent her clients to me. And I don't really have a large vocabulary to describe this experience, but I will share with you the clients that were on the fruit diet. Their energy, their vibration, when I'm doing a psychic reading, they were so high. That's the only word I can, and I don't mean like high giddy.
High vibration.
High vibration, elevated in such ways that they didn't even realize where they were at in this. It was incredible. And I said to myself, side note, okay, when you're ready, you're going to go look at a fruit diet because there's something there.
I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that before. All fruit. I've heard like a carnivore diet where you eat all meat, but see, I feel like that is, I could go in all different directions with different types of eating, but that's just, that seems
I'm not saying
so
this is healthy. I'm just saying, I'm not
right.
saying it's sustainable. I'm just saying they did this for a while and their energy and their vibration was like off the charts.
Well, where I was going with the carnivore diet, you don't eat fruit, you eat meat and like eggs and heavy dairy. So I'm wondering what kind of vibration that would be and how that would be different. It'd be really neat to experiment and see where you are vibrationally dependent on the types of foods you were eating.
Yes. I can tell you this, just this is now, again, empirical knowledge. When I'm doing psychic readings, it's a denser energy. When I don't have to see the person, I can do this over the phone and I'm reading for somebody. I can tell you the density that they have, and then I could probably predict what they eat. Not to a T, but like, oh, this person drinks soda, this person eats processed food, this person it's an energy. I can't explain it to you. It's an energy and I can sense it.
Wow. That's really neat. So with you do offer readings now currently?
Oh yeah, I've always offered readings.
That's really neat.
That's always been like,
right. I know you shared earlier, like you'd go to your job and you do readings at night, but I wasn't sure if you were currently offering readings. That's something that people can connect with you about on your website as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I've been reading full time since 2012. So that's, when I left education and started to read like full time.
I love receiving readings. I'm going to have to book a session with you.
I'd love to have you.
I really love connecting with my guests outside of the show as well. In fact, we had a guest, Wendy Rose Williams. She does hypnotherapy, like quantum healing, hypnosis therapy. She does past life regression and stuff like that. I actually booked something with her in a couple of weeks. I'm really excited. So I would love to do a session with you as well. I think that's just so neat to see and experience other people's abilities and have that insight to someone who's not with me on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I'd love that. I'd love that experience too.
It's really exciting. Okay, so we only have about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure that you have had the opportunity to share everything that you've wanted to share with us, and also a little bit about the books that you've written and how people can get in contact with you.
Okay, thank you, AJ. So firstly, if anybody's interested in working with children or the child within them or developing their own intuitive and psychic abilities in a very fun, simple way, I have a free 16-page guide, which you can grab at my website at ellymolina.com and then hit the tab that says Psy Kids. And then when you're going to the Psy Kids tab, just click on What If, and that's a free 16-page guide. And it gives all kinds of activities to do for the child within you. You can do this yourself or you can do this with kids. So that's one free resource. Of course, I have the magic mantra. And then I have written 3 books. There's the Dream Interpretation Guide. It's on my website. Then there is Children Who Know How to Know. That is a resource guide for adults to work and teach themselves how to develop their intuitive and psychic abilities and how to do this with kids. So it's filled with exercises. It's filled with science. It's very simple. It's easy to understand, and yet it's packed with information. And then my other book is Annabelle and the Domino, which is an illustrated children's book, and it's based on a true story about a little girl in Washington who moved a domino with her mind. And then I just recently added a deck of playing cards over here so that we're using these to develop our psychic abilities. This is the Psy Kids deck of cards. So I have that. There's a number of free resources. And then, of course, I do readings, consultations, and consulting.
That is so neat.
I think I've covered most of it. Yeah. And then I have an online course also to teach adults and children how to tap into their psychic abilities.
Oh, that is
and practice
fantastic.
it. Mhm.
How long does something like that last? If
What?
you were to take a course in developing your psychic abilities, is
Oh,
it?
there's certain level. There are I think I've got like 35 lessons, but it sets you up so that you can do all of this by yourself. So you're getting the basics, and then you go on to do this yourself.
Oh, that's so cool. You have so many resources on your site. Thank you for sharing them with all of us.
Thank you, AJ. Thanks for
Again,
having me here.
oh, it's been so good. And for those of you who missed the website, it's Elly, Elly, Molina, Molina.com. There's a ton of information over there, you guys, and it's just a beautiful site, easy to navigate. So go and check it out. Make sure that you connect with Elly if you're interested in working with her, in receiving a reading, if you have a child that you would like to connect with her. So many good things that she can do and offer with you and for you. It's been so great getting to know you tonight. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, AJ. Thank you for having me here. It was a really huge pleasure and an honor. I thank you.
And you did say that you were going to take a break. So what are you going to do during your break of shows? What are you going to do with all your extra spare time?
I'm running my podcast. I have a podcast also.
Oh, yes. Tell us about that.
So every Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, live on the Podbean app, I have guests, or I answer questions. I answer psychic questions, or I have guests that I interview, and I do that. That's what I do. It runs about 50 minutes. It's pretty interesting. It is very interesting, as a matter of fact, not pretty. It's very interesting. And so I do that. And I'm still working and creating some new courses right now. And that's what I'm working on.
That is so neat. I love that. And how can we listen to it?
Oh, it's on every platform, AJ. All you have to do is look up Ask Elly, Intuitive Insights. I'm on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, YouTube. Where else? I forget. Amazon,
everywhere.
Google.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to share all of that. We just had a few more minutes, and I was kind of hoping you would mention that. So thank you for that. And I'm definitely going to have a listen, because this is right up my alley. I love just filling my brain and my heart with all of this goodness. And I appreciate you for putting yourself out in the world and sharing all of your abilities and gifts and talents with all of us. I know and believe that it's a ripple effect, and that everyone will be affected by all that you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you, everyone, for listening tonight. Thank you.
Have a good night, dear. And to all of you who have joined us tonight, I appreciate you too. I couldn't be here sharing all of this time and our beautiful guests with you if you weren't here to support us. So thank you. And a huge shout out to my producer, Chanel. She's always got my back. And I will see you guys all next week. I believe, let's see what's next week. Ooh, readings with Misty Rose Merck. I hope you guys are going to call in and get one. We'll see you next time. Until then, be good to yourself and be good to each other. Good night.